So that's the question now. I was watching the TNT broadcast a little bit, and then I switched over. And when Scal was talking about on the NBC broadcast, he still thinks Philly is possible for Simmons there. Again,
you're talking about Harden now?
I don't know what the point of Harden is. I don't know why you would trade him. I don't know. He's undeniably great, but why do you want that? You know, like
it's protest fat, John. It's coming right off when he lands.
I don't want a 30-year-old guy who doesn't want to play defense, who demands the ball for a 25-year-old asset. You know, like
what if you're Toronto?
You know, for 2 years. I don't want that.
So this is Philly's in the position that Boston was in. You have
the
Simmons.
Best deal is Kyrie. It's Kyrie for Harden, and it would be the best.
Honestly,
thing. I would love that.
I don't think Houston's interested in that.
I think Brooklyn wants to give Kyrie and Durant a chance before they just make that trade. I mean,
maybe.
But what
about
about
Miami?
Houston would say no to that. So I don't even think that's on the table. Miami's the interesting one because they have the right balance here. Philly's in a tough spot. It's going to be Simmons or bust to acquire him, and that is a tough guy to give up in a trade. And we had a disagreement about this earlier, Jimmy, but you have three young assets in Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, and I guess you can throw Precious Achiuwa in there as their latest draft pick, multiple picks for years to come. They're great. They had excellent rookie years. They're young. The potential is massive, but they're assets for a reason, and the assets have been valued to the highest degree now by what they just did. So all of a sudden, you can trade those guys probably, maintain your core and Bam and Jimmy, and add a third star. I mean, they'd be the only 3-star team in the NBA at that point, right? So it makes all the sense in the world there. The fit could be tricky, but
Jalen, Jason, and Tristan.
Marcus.
Yeah, but Bobby, if you're the Miami Heat, you're thinking to yourself, we just went to the NBA Finals. We're only getting better. We don't need this guy. Like, yeah, you know, the Brooklyn Nets going to be tough. That's a hurdle. But, you know, in the Milwaukee, you know, Giannis just re-upped. But I like my chances, you know, if I'm Miami. You know, they haven't really lost a whole lot from last year. And they were able to replace them with a couple of good pieces. And they're getting better. And Bam Adebayo, you know, like, I just think Miami's better off just keeping what they have and just run it back and continue to get better and sort of build their dynasty from there. The Giannis thing is a devastating blow. If I'm Miami, I'm like, man, like Drew Holiday, was that all it took for this guy to just recommit? But then again, maybe
they have
put it this way, guys. After what I saw with Russell Westbrook, will we really be shocked if 2 or 3 years, if Milwaukee can never get over the hump, if they never get to the NBA Finals, are you going to be shocked that Giannis wants out and he'll be granted that?
Yeah, absolutely. He can do that in a couple of years.
Seen it so many times. Russell Westbrook got traded twice. I didn't think he could. I didn't think that was possible. With 40+ mil on his deal, 40+ mil per year. He got traded twice.
Josue, if you have the chance to trade for the best scorer in the NBA for 3 bench players and picks, you do it. You just do it.
Okay, you're saying 3 bench players. Now you're diminishing what Tyler Hero actually is, though, by saying that, because that's not just a bench player.
You still probably do it, but you still probably do it.
But here's the thing. Okay, fine.
Centered around the package.
But your window is now much more in the now than it is with just Jimmy Butler, because now you're bringing on Harden. So now you have 2 31, 32-year-old star players, right?
Well, they're right there. I mean, they made the finals last year, and what kept them from pushing over the top? The offense. They didn't have enough offense.
But wouldn't you say the same thing you say about the Celtics is that some of those players are going to get better? You're banking on Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown to get better. Are you not banking on Hero and Adebayo to get better? And I don't know. I mean, Robinson could theoretically get better on offense and do more than just shoot threes. I mean, there's the bridge years that we've talked about with teams where you want to have stars in the now and stars in the future. If you trade a guy like Hero, I mean, that's a guy that you could have. I mean, a guy that you could have on your team for the next 8 years. You know, controlled. You know, I mean, it's going to take a lot to get rid of him. For somebody like Harden, who you're going to have him for, was it 3 years? Does he have an opt-out?
He's 2 years, but I think the key there is they can probably keep him. It's Miami. It's a great team. It's a good situation. It's a club city. Like, they'd be able to re-sign him feasibly, and I think that would be a big motivating factor there to doing that deal.
You your team like the Heat, you're so close with the players that you have, and you probably think that you're going to get better without making major moves. Now, so let's say you bring in a guy like Harden, who completely changes everything. I mean, you're just a completely different team. It's tough to bring on a player like that and know what you're going to get out of the players around you, because he just changes everything. He commands the ball. He's going to take 20 plus shots a game. What does that mean for a guy like Bam? Or, I mean, I guess Butler's not like, we saw what Butler could do on offense when he takes over, but I guess he's the type of player who could theoretically watch as James Harden takes over.
Yeah,
but then you're kind of not using the way you could use him.
They're actually
done it again.
They're perfect in that regard because neither Butler or Adebayo needs the ball in their hands at all times. You're not.
Here's my question for you, Jimmy. Do you ever see them becoming a championship team, winning the championship with the core they have right now? Do you really?
Listen, yeah, why not? I mean, I don't think
they could win it all with this core.
I think the Lakers are still the best team in the NBA. But I mean, Bobby, they went to the. What are you talking about?
Wait, hold on, Bobby. Where do you put Bam Adebayo? Like, where's his ceiling for you? Because I feel like
I mean, they went to
I don't think it's ridiculous to think in the next couple of years that they won't be, legit title contenders.
Well, Bam would be there either way. He's obviously untouchable. I would not trade Bam for Harden. But you had a piece to push you over the finish line, I think, in Harden. He can do that. Now, again, Harden's going to have to make some changes here. He's going to have to commit to what the Heat do, their coaching staff, their style. They're going to use him in ways different than bounce, step back three. There'd be a lot more versatility on the ball, off the ball. He'd have to be willing to commit to all of that, and he'd have to know what he's getting into there if he has them among his desired destinations. But if he's able to be shaped and molded, and I still talk to people who think that he can, the way he was in Oklahoma City, to play a different kind of role, that team would be championship favorites right up there with LA. They'd win the East with relative ease, I think.
Miami's they've sort of taken on like Jimmy Butler's like persona. Like it's kind of like they're tough as nail, like they're tough, like they grind it out, they play harder than you. And I mean, I think if you brought in a guy like Harden, that just kind of changes.
That's everything. True. It's a risk. That's a risk.
I mean, like, what happens to just Jimmy Butler? What does Jimmy Butler think about that? I mean, sure. I mean, I don't know what their relationship is.
I don't know how Miami gets it done though, because you're right. They don't have that next piece. If Hero's the number one signature piece going over, it's not enough.
It depends what else is out there. Like it all comes down to whether or not Philly's going to do Simmons.
Yeah. So you wait on Simmons, but at the end of the day, I think Houston's just going to eat it. Before Harden does.
Why wouldn't they make the trade? If Harden wants out, I mean, they don't really have many options.
I don't think the teams that can offer stuff. Look, here's the thing. Simmons is the only star
NBA steps in
all the teams that you think might be interested. And everything else is a collection of not spare parts, but extras. It's a package centered around Tyler Hero or a package centered around Dinwiddie and LeVert, like in Brooklyn. Like you're not getting near
Would you rather
value.
Would you rather have LeVert or Hero?
Hero.
Probably Hero.
Yeah.
Probably Hero.
But what I'm saying is that's not enough because Hero might be like a fringy, like almost all-star player at his ceiling. Like he might not even be. There's no lock. He's perennial all-star level player. He might just be a nice player.
No, you know what? He's exactly what he is. He's a young player who has shown tremendous promise that you can sell as that centerpiece in a trade. Would you regret it? Maybe.
Small piece for a guy of Harden's stature.
Well, I think that's why you do it if you're them. Now Houston, it's not a slam dunk for Houston, and the reason you probably eat it if you're the Rockets is because you need to get a slam dunk return on this player. Like this is not a trade you can screw up, or you're going to be.
I don't think they can make it. If it's not with Philly for Simmons, I don't think they can make it with those other two teams. So I think he stays put.
But wait. What do you mean they don't? They're gonna have to trade him.
Houston's Houston's gonna tell them we can't find a partner for you, so you got to play here. They're not just gonna trade him for nothing.
Yeah, they got 2 years, so there's an advantage.
They got 2 years. He's not going to sulk and eat. He's not going to eat himself. Dude, he can't waste 2 years. His next contract will be shit at 33 years old at 312 pounds. He can't do that.
His value is going to go further and further down, though, the longer this trade. I mean, the less control you have over the guy that you're trading for, the less you're
for him. So he can't sulk and pout. He's got to just play. He's got to play.
No, but for the Rockets too, the more they hold on to the guy, the less value they're going to get in return for him. It's just a matter of luck of what teams become.
Yeah, or you could just wait it out until the team just steps up. At the trade deadline, that could always happen too.
This is not a trade you rush.
It's just that exactly. It's just not a. That,
I think
that
you're right.
But if you're Houston, I just think you find the right team and don't worry about if it's going to be a championship contender. But then again, it's like those are the pieces that you want. You want to get the best pieces out of the deal. That's what the good pieces are.
Yeah.
Do you do it if you're Philly? Do you do it if you're Philly? That's the tougher question there. I think you do to shake things up there, to form a pick and roll duo with Harden.
They're going to shake things up, but it did it from the beginning. And I'm in that camp. I've been wanting to see Simmons and Embiid. I just don't think that it's going to work. But they're determined, or they're saying this is it. This is the last try with Doc Rivers. So we'll see.
Hey, it's worth giving it a shot because if you have that piece, you can always offer it as long as he's healthy later. So there's really no rush for Philly either, unless things start really bad there, which they probably won't.
Okay,
I think if you're
go ahead, Jimmy.
We can move on, but
Toronto. Go ahead, Jimmy. Before we head on Toronto.
No, I was gonna say I agree. I think if you're Philly, I think if it's between Miami and Philly, I think it makes more sense for Philly to take the risk because I think they're further away from a championship than Miami is. So for me, I think Harden would make them better. I think Harden in a place like Philly, like in the city, would be pretty electric. And I think that they would probably love having him there. And I think that would be good for a good move for basketball too, if he went to a city like that. So I think I'd be more willing to make that trade if I was Philly. I think it definitely makes you better. Because I don't think Embiid, Simmons, I don't know if that's ever going to work. So
I don't either. So talking Toronto strictly from a Toronto perspective, this couldn't be any better news for them. So they miss out on Giannis one day. All of a sudden, they're probably in the mix on this with Siakam, with some of the other young pieces they have. Now, the tough question for them is going to be how much of this core do you blow up? Because they're going to have to trade quite a bit here to make this happen. You might even have to move on from Fred VanVleet in this situation, which would be a tough pill to swallow for them. But if you stack together OG Anunoby, Siakam, and Fred VanVleet, you're getting somewhere there. I mean, collectively, that's probably actually a pretty close package to what Miami would be offering in that regard, along with all the picks. And those picks might actually be more appealing to Houston because Toronto's closer to that end game of the Lowry core than Miami would be. I mean, they'll have years and years and years of Harden, Bam, and Jimmy. So that could be an interesting one. And we know Masai Ujiri is willing to take that risk, willing to go all in for that one run like he did with Kawhi Leonard. They suddenly become a very intriguing team here with this flexibility and no longer pursuing Giannis.
Yeah, I like that too.
I like those pieces for them because if you're Houston, you get a little bit of everything. You get draft picks, you get a big, you get a wing, and they're all under.
And Siakam, Siakam's at that spot now.
Oh, not Siakam, but yeah.
Well, Siakam's at that spot now where if you can get off him for Toronto with this kind of return, a Harden, all of a sudden you're not leaning on this guy who was extremely disappointing last postseason being your guy going forward into the future. Right. And Houston can probably sell themselves on this guy who's a number 2 on a championship team in a different situation with a different coach, getting back to who he is and becoming a great player again outside the bubble.